And when cold, Chinese medical terms describing underlying situations that induce fever are treated by inducing sweating. You would take a warm bath, cover yourself with quilts, and go to bed drinking lots of different green teas. If the disease is not treated at this level or is treated inappropriately, then it will penetrate the more internal levels, and you will need strong antimicrobial herbs that drain the pathogens through the bowels and the urine. Now, often a fever is accompanied by chills, even to the point of shivering. That makes it easy to bundle up and sweat. But sometimes that is not the case. Then it takes a willful effort to follow the bundle up and sweat protocols. And this is just to give you one side of the picture. Now, some of you are familiar with Dr. Russell Blaylock, who we've had on this program. And he has an article called What to Do If You Cannot Avoid the Flu Shots. You can find that at naturalnews.com. A major point to distinguish between ordinary fever and cytokine storm reaction is from Dr. Blaylock's description of noticing how cold packs placed on infants, points of inoculations in pediatric wards, would calm down hysterical, screaming, thrashing infants. Those are not just regular fever reactions, those are cytokine storms. This cold pack technique is what he recommends you do upon receiving a vaccination, along with a list of natural supplements to help you avert that cytokine storm. In other words, and I will deal with that on a program next week. I'm Gary Null. We are talking about the issues that make a difference in our lives. I'm going to go to your calls in about 5 minutes from now. Now, and again, I'm not suggesting that's what you do. I'm saying there's two schools of thought. You haven't heard of that school, so I'm giving you some insights so you can make your own informed consent and do additional research. And I will be giving you some protocols next week. If you do get the flu, here are the protocols that will help minimize any downside. A daily drink of probiotics may reduce inflammation and bleeding in the mouth linked to gingivitis and gum disease. This is a new study published in the Journal of Clinical Peridology and lactobacillus. So once again, take your acidophilus, take your bifidus. You can get the vegan kind, and you take 1 tablespoon in the morning, 1 tablespoon before you go to bed at night, and it can help you with gum disease. From the environmental section, food prices could triple with climate change. This is a short piece. It says, quote, food prices can more than triple as the climate changes, according to a new report from the International Food Policy Research Institute. And even without climate change, food prices would still be expected to rise by 40% for wheat and 60% for rice and maize, and as the populations grow. Well, we have a major movement on, of course, to try to be more aware and more conscious. Now, I'm a big advocate of moderate to lower protein intake. I have seen all the research on what happens when you have high protein, and there's a myth. People think that you need a lot of protein. You do not. The body has no way of storing this protein. So when you take a lot of protein, you actually tax the liver, you tax the kidneys, you tax the body's eliminative system, and that's bad. So here is the latest, and it says, in this study, the anti-Atkins low-protein diet, the species live longer, courtesy of their better functioning mitochondria. Quote, the research done at the Buck Institute for Age Research shows that the molecular mechanisms responsible for the lifespan extension in these laboratory experiments are indicators of human aging and disease. The study has been published in the peer-reviewed journal Cell, and it's all about the mitochondria. When you have a high-protein diet, even a moderate protein diet, you end up destroying the mitochondria. Those are the energy power plants in the cell. But a low-protein diet, or a moderate protein diet that you would find on a good vegan diet, getting your protein from legumes and pulses, beans, nuts and seeds and grains, that provides you with energy and allows you to live a longer life. So for all of you who wanted those quick fix diets and those high protein shakes, and all you athletes who had to bulk up and overexpand, and you're killing yourself. You're aging prematurely, and you're doing a lot of damage to your kidneys. You have no idea how many former bodybuilders and former athletes I've counseled who their body is just broken down on the inside because of too much protein. And finally, we've all heard the idea that stress is a killer. And what's interesting is, take a picture of the President of the United States when they enter office, take a picture when they exit. You see a lot of wrinkles, a lot of gray, a lot of just looking like you've been really beaten down. Here's the latest on this. Quote, extended stress has been found to cause stroke, also called cerebral infarction, according to this new study. And this is the University of Gothenburg and two other universities, one in Sweden. The study found that many stroke patients urgently admitted to hospital had stated they had been under great stress over a prolonged period of time. So you do yourself no good when you're stressed. And supplementing by doing drugs or smoking or tranquilizers or overeating or overworking does not change the stress. It merely changes your perception of the stress. It's much like a diabetic who cuts their foot. They don't feel it. They have neuropathy. And now they get infected and they lose a leg or a foot to gangrene. The fact that you may not feel your stress because what you're doing doesn't mean that the stress hormones are not cascading all over your body. They are, especially cortisol and adrenaline, epinephrine, norepinephrine, catecholamines. These are meant to help us for about 60 seconds to 2 minutes. And by the way, I saw this as an athlete. You line up at the start, everyone's got their finger on their stopwatch, looking ahead, waiting for the gun or the horn, and boom, you're out. And for the next 60 seconds to a minute and a half, you don't feel anything. You're flying. And that's because your stress hormones have thrown your blood sugar up, and you have an enormous amount of immediate energy available. Then the body self-corrects. What is called glucagon goes up and brings that blood sugar down. And suddenly, it just feels like your legs are made out of steel, and you just slow down. And now you're breathing hard. And that's what happens. So going out in a meditative way is important. That's why true meditation and yoga and calming techniques that truly calm you, that's the way to go. Oh, and by the way, one more good word on soy, since there's been a systematic campaign to denigrate soy, and yet the 5,500 articles that we have reviewed in this office from good journals, 99% have been positive about soy. Quote, soybeans contain high levels of several health compounds, including tocopherols, which have antioxidant properties and can be used in the treatment and prevention of heart disease and cancer. These molecules can be used in the development of functional foods, which have beneficial properties. Then it goes on to talk about this, and this is in the current issue of Agronomy Journal. And so soybeans helping with both cancer and heart disease. And for those of you who've been staying up at night and texting and on your computer and cell phones, be warned, you're damaging your brain. Think of all the college students, high school students. Here's the latest. This is in the most respected journal in America, Science. The microdialysis experiments being conducted in this experiment found that extramuscular amyloid beta levels in the brain fall during slumber and rise with wakefulness. Hence, the lack of sleep, when you're not getting good sleep, harms your brain and can lay down the very plaque that leads to dementia and Alzheimer's. One last thing before we go to our break, and this is for all of our very orthodox listeners out there. There's good news for you. An orgasm a day keeps illnesses away. Women who regularly have orgasms are more energetic and suffer fewer illnesses than females who are left wanting more after sexual sections. And this is from peer-reviewed journal. So for those of you who are having your orgasms every day, good for you. That's better than vitamin C. Back in a moment.